Hey everybody! Today, me and my beautiful hands will be teaching you how to read print comics, how to read digital comics, and the problems inherent with the digital comics experience. And we're going to start off by looking at none other than Watchmen, Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons' absolute masterpiece. Wonderful book, but how do we read comics? Well, honestly, let's just dive right into Watchmen. So here's our first page. We have a 3x3 grid of panels. We read these left to right, top to bottom, in what Scott McCloud refers to as the unwritten contract between artist and reader. It's just like reading a novel. Left to right, top to bottom. Now, Watchmen is very logically constructed. It's a beautiful book. But what about a book that deals with a little something supernatural? Maybe say, BAM! So check out this sexy little nugget. The Mighty Thor by Matt Fraction and Olivier Coipel. A brilliant book, but something very different from the Watchmen. Now, this book, it's got gods and smiting and superheroes and what? Yes, all right, it's got sorcery and magic. So how does this change the way the pages have been constructed? Well, give me a second to find the page. Whoa. So how the heck do we read this page? It's nothing like what we saw in Watchmen. Now, let's remember what Scott McCloud said. Left to right, top to bottom. Start with the first panel, then the second panel that's obviously connected to it. Then, because we can't go right, we read the bottom of the page. Go up to the top right, and then read all the way down. So as we've seen, reading comics is a pretty easy endeavor, though understanding the conventions of the medium is always key when, hey, what are you doing? You know what, let's just talk about digital comics now. Shazam! Check it! Now we have the Mighty Thor on an iPad. This is actually a great way to read comics if you're on the go. It's quick, easy, sleek, small, but it does have problems, you're right. There are three ways to actually move through a comic using comiXology's app, which is what I'll be using here. So comiXology provides page view. Page view is the most analogous to a print comic experience. You swipe your finger right or left to read through or tap each side of the screen to move yourself through the story. Sort of comiXology's calling card is guided view, which is what I'm going to show you now. Here we actually move through panels, panel by panel. We have a zoomed in view which shows just that piece of art. And this is actually, it's a cool view, but there are some problems with it which I'll expand on later. You're right, next we have zoom view, fine. Zoom view. You just kind of zoom in as deep as you want into the page, and yes, we can go up that, yeah, we can go up his nose. So those are the three views, page view, guided view, and zoom view. But what are the problems with this reading experience on this digital device? The first problem that I want to address, the main problem here, is size. Look, Ma, no hands. Wada! All right, cool. So here we have Thor on the left and Thor on the right. One's print, one's digital. The print copy actually measures 10¼ inch by 6¼ inch, while the viewable iPad screen is only 7.75 inches by 5.82. And that's a huge size differential and where a lot of the problems reading comics on an iPad come into play. If you take a look, and if you really dig deep, details get lost, text becomes difficult to read, and this is only pushed further when we, boom, get a double page spread. Here we have a 2-page spread on our print comic and on our iPad. So as you can see, they're trying to take basically a 10-inch by 13-inch page and smash it into a 7.75 by 5.82 screen. It doesn't work. However, you can change the orientation, absolutely. But really this only gives you 2 inches of width and you take away about 2 inches of the height. So again, size is the most serious concern when you are reading a digital comic. Skadoosh! But if we look at this particular issue of Atomic Robo, totally awesome book, we'll see that size isn't the only problem with comics on the iPad. So let's just get to the page here, and there it is. Magic. Remember, we read left to right. It's what we expect and how we've been taught that comics work, right? Well, watch this. Yeah, wait for it. Oh snap! Now guided view is forcing us to read right to left. And while it's not an earth-shattering issue, it's jarring and it disrupts immersion. And this doesn't just happen once in this issue, it actually happens twice. Twice, the unwritten agreement between artist and reader is broken, and the reader's forced to read a different way than they had expected. Now, I don't know if the creators of Atomic Robo were anyway involved in creating the guided view experience, but if not, then you're reading this comic in a way that it wasn't intended, which could potentially lead to spoilers, confusing dialogue, overall diminished enjoyment of the narrative. And really, what creator wants that? Now let's move on to our last problem. Hadouken! Now we're back to the Mighty Thor for our last issue with digital comics. Artists never meant for their work to be shrunk down to fit a smaller screen. That's right, they never meant for this to happen on the iPad, so we have this beautiful 2-page spread, and sure we can turn the iPad and go into guided view to get a little closer, but then we lose the page in favor of the component parts. We lose the best part, we lose the page. We lose sight of the whole. And this page actually shows Odin looking down as Thor and Sif dive to the heart of the World Tree, a super cool moment, and these two events are happening simultaneously. But that's not how it seems here, because we're only seeing bits and pieces. So let's go back to print comics for our coup de grace for our recap. Do I think digital comics are the future? Yes. Do I think they have a ways to go? Absolutely. With the current size limitations, occasional jarring reading experiences, and translational issues, digital comics provides an entirely different experience for the reader. But when digital comics can do this, when creators start adapting their stories to the medium, and with the increasing ubiquity of digital devices, tablets, e-readers, we're going to start seeing this. And I think that's when you can say digital comics revolution. Anyway, thanks a ton, guys. Later.